We got more blocks to go. So let's move on. And we're going to go liberal hive mind because James Comey, he's a 6'6", huge former director of the FBI, formerly untouchable. You know, when they busted Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation laundering narco trafficking money, they punished HSBC by putting Comey on the board, and then they gave $100 million to Hillary Clinton. So the deep state hive is getting cracked into because I'm pretty sure Comey thought he was untouchable and would come out of all this unscathed. He, in fact, was running honeypots on President Trump's campaign, the executives, all other people involved with that back in 2016. He also said, do not prosecute Hillary Clinton for the deleted emails and the servers and all those other national security laws that they broke. And I'm going to be interested in what the HSBC whistleblower, John Cruz, has to say because $3 billion was paid by HSBC to Comey and the U.S. government. That money disappeared. I did tweet at Doge a couple weeks ago to be like, hey, just so you know, there's this $3 billion that's missing, and here's the whistleblower who will tell you where it went missing and when, and you guys should be able to pick it up and, you know, send me a little check later. But we're going to get that story from Liberal Hive Mind. Then I want to watch the Trump-Zelensky 13-round fight in the Oval Office where Trump played Clubber Lang and Zelensky plays Rocky in the first part of Rocky 3. And then Truth Stream Media has some observations on the state of free speech in the EU. It's a short piece, but you need to hear what this woman had to say about freedom, and we got to vaccinate against disinformation. And then Caitlin Johnstone, meditations on the notion that Obama never had any scandals, because that's a popular caricature cartoon that is peddled by the left in their little dystopia mythology that they like to spin over there. Caitlin Johnstone's going to set that record straight, and then we'll come back to discuss. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh yeah, baby, oh yeah. This administration is wasting no time. They're not pretending to work like the last president was for 4 years, during the election season promising all kinds of change. Change is coming, don't worry. We're gonna make all kinds of reforms. The American utopia is right around the corner. Then once actually elected and placed into office, they go M-I-frickin-A. Joe Biden's on the beach half the time, and nothing is getting done. The status quo is totally enabled and just continued. No, this administration said, day one, we're going to get to work, and that's exactly what's happening. And like I keep saying, things are moving so incredibly fast, it's almost hard to keep up. I've increased my video production here, and even while doing more videos covering more stories, I still can't get to all of it, because there's so many moving pieces and so much happening. And it's not just the president, it's also everybody around him. He's got some go-getters around him. And speaking of go-getters, today we got to talk about Kash Patel, because he's not wasting any time. When was he confirmed? Like a week ago? Not even. Something like that. It's been like a week since his confirmation, and already he's on the frickin' ball. And the whole purpose of Kash Patel's confirmation was to really shake things up and to hold these current and ex-FBI officials accountable for their dirty deeds, let's call it. And here we go, week one, Kash Patel's already got his target, James frickin' Comey, who's probably sweating bullets right now, as, let's use their own term against them, the walls are closing in. James Comey is now being exposed and he's facing an investigation. Let's just say things are getting real interesting. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we've known for years that Comey was a corrupt snake, but now we're getting confirmation of just how bad it really was. So it turns out that the Obama administration wasn't just spying on Trump's campaign through the fraudulent FISA warrant scheme. No, apparently they also had a honeypot operation running at the same time. They were running an off-the-books entrapment operation against the President of the United States.
Kash Patel's FBI opening an investigation into James Comey. The Times reports that Comey launched an off-the-books honeypot operation against candidate Donald Trump. According to a whistleblower, he sent 2 female undercovers to infiltrate Trump's 2016 campaign and told them to act as honeypots, spies who use sex to get what they want. And the honeypots ingratiated themselves into the top ranks of the campaign. If true, that means the Obama administration was conducting multiple phony investigations into Trump without any evidence. The whistleblower says FBI employees were told to shut their mouth about the operation. And one of the agents was transferred to the CIA so she couldn't testify.
You know, the left loves to gaslight people into thinking that the Obama administration was scandal-free, but this might be one of the biggest scandals in modern political history. Think about it. Not only did they fabricate an excuse to spy on their biggest political opponent, they also set up a secret honeypot operation to trap and control key figures in Trump's orbit. It's disgusting. And this comes just a day after General Flynn put James Comey on notice in a way that I don't think we've ever seen before. Flynn straight up told Comey that he's going to jail unless he flips on some higher ups. And he's not saying this lightly. I don't think it's a joke. He even tells Comey, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Watch this.
We got whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, and we're funneling it into the right governmental offices to do the right things. And let me tell you, these people are busted. And so for Jim Comey, that's why I said earlier, Jim, if you get this message, start thinking about what you're gonna give up, because you're gonna give up some of your freedom because you're gonna go to jail. You must go to jail because of what you did. But maybe they'll cut you a little bit of a deal, and they'll put you in a softer prison for a shorter period of time because you're able to give up some evidence on some of these other people who are even more deeper than you involved in this, because Jim, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
And look, he might be onto something, because the corruption that's being outlined here, it's no nothing burger, I'll tell you that. This seems to be an abuse of power of the highest order, and it goes all the way to the tippy top. From Hillary Clinton's campaign to the 7th floor of the FBI to the then president, before Donald Trump was elected, Barack Obama. Honestly, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton seem to be at the core of all of this. It seems like we're about to uncover a scandal of corruption unlike anything we've seen in recent memory. And actually, to help make that point, this immediately comes to mind. Remember when Lisa Page literally testified that Obama personally told Comey not to prosecute Hillary?
About what the Obama Justice Department ordered federal lawyers to do and not to do concerning the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge tells us in sworn testimony on Capitol Hill, one of the insiders told lawmakers what she was told.
During closed-door testimony last summer, former FBI lawyer Lisa Page said the Obama administration's Justice Department advised the FBI not to pursue the gross negligence statute for Hillary Clinton in the mishandling of classified information. Former U.S. Attorney and House Republican John Ratcliffe led the line of questioning about the statute, known as 18 U.S.C. 793. Ratcliffe, you're making it sound like it was the department that told you you're not going to charge gross negligence because we're the prosecutors. Page interrupted. That is correct. Page's testimony appears to conflict with then FBI Director James Comey's recommendation in July 2016 against criminal charges for Clinton.
What I can assure the American people is that this investigation was done honestly, competently, and independently. No outside influence of any kind was brought to bear.
The Republican-led House Oversight and Judiciary Committee investigation ended in January. With Democrats now in control, the committee's new ranking Republican made the Page transcript public.
The transcript releases show an inherent two-tier system, one in which Hillary Clinton gets the treatment that she got, where there was actually at first concern that they were going to charge her, and then with Loretta Lynch in charge, before she recused herself, made it very clear that that was not going to happen.
The tip-off came from a chart drawn up by federal investigators assigned to the Clinton case known as mid-year exam. Fox News has confirmed that the chart listed possible federal statutes for prosecution. Next to gross negligence was a notation, quote, DOJ not willing to charge this. Only known cases are military. Cases when accused lost the information.
You know, suddenly it all makes sense. Now we know why Hillary Clinton got away with the email scandal, despite the fact that everybody knew that she was guilty. James Comey literally said she was guilty. The Obama White House was apparently, allegedly, running interference for her. These people weren't just abusing the FBI to fabricate dirt on Donald Trump, they were also using it to cover up Hillary Clinton's crimes. And think about how insane that is. One candidate got spied on, set up, entrapped, and railroaded, while the other candidate had the entire corrupt system shielding her from consequence. And all of it happening by the orders of the President of the United States and the top official at the FBI. And let's really put it all together, because that's when it really comes into perspective. They paid foreign spies to fabricate evidence on Donald Trump. They then used that information that they leaked to the media, all the stories that their corrupt journalists were writing, to then reinforce the dossier that they themselves had illegally created. They got the FISA warrants to give them an illegal warrant, which they then used to illegally spy on the Donald Trump campaign. Then James Comey was given the green light to run an off-the-books honeypot operation, basically using women who were really spies working for James Comey to infiltrate Donald Trump's cabinet in an attempt to get them to flip on their boss. They did all of this, and meanwhile, they abused their power at the FBI to shut down an investigation into Hillary Clinton's actual illegal actions. And then these are the people who lecture you about democracy and abuse of power, and no one being above the law, and Donald Trump is going to weaponize the justice system against his political opponents. It's all projection. These are the most corrupt actors, the most corrupt deep state operatives I've ever seen. And it seems as though Kash Patel is about to blow the lid off this whole thing. Now, of course, keep in mind a lot of this, not all of it, but some of the newer stuff is just what's being reported. But I'll tell you, it certainly doesn't seem surprising at all, and it certainly falls right in line with what we've known to happen already. So I guess we'll have to wait for the final report. We'll have to see exactly what's going on. But I guess I'll just end off by saying James Comey might be rotting in a prison cell by the end of the frickin' year. Holy moly. I guess life comes at you fast if you're a corrupt deep state operative, abusing your power and acting so clearly illegally. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and
let's watch.
On the deal. That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him. Me, like a new president, in 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
a
entire
lot of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today,
meeting, have you said thank
even
you?
Today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I answer?
Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks. What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
Well, what if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting it together. Thanks.
I need the back of
We'll see. I don't know.
Guys, come on.
Right, witnessing there a playback conversation, the meeting with President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, very tense moments there inside of the Oval Office, going back and forth there, the Ukrainian.
And finally, it takes resilience. As technology evolves, we need to build up societal immunity around information manipulation. Because research has shown that pre-bunking is much more successful than debunking. Pre-bunking is basically the opposite of debunking. In short, prevention is preferable to cure. Perhaps if you think of information manipulation as a virus. Instead of treating an infection once it has taken hold, that is debunking. It is much better to vaccinate so that the body is inoculated. Pre-bunking is the same approach. Because disinformation relies on people passing it on to others. It is essential that people know what malign information's influence is and what the techniques are that are behind it. And as the knowledge goes up, our chances of being influenced goes down. And that builds up the society resilience that we will need.
Meditations on the notion that Obama never had any scandals. Now that Trump is back in office, I am again seeing Democrats posting fondly about Barack Obama and how wonderful it was to have a president whose worst scandal was wearing a brown suit once. During the first Trump administration, such sentiments were a great way to go viral on liberal Twitter. And the thing about this genre of tweet is that they are kind of right. Obama didn't have any scandals of the level we see from Trump. But the fact that the evil things Obama did weren't considered scandalous says profoundly ugly things about the kind of society we are living in. Obama committed all kinds of atrocities while president that would be considered scandalous if we lived in a world that is remotely sane. Destroying Libya and leaving it a smoldering crater of humanitarian disaster. Tearing apart Syria with the dirty war that featured pouring weapons into the arms of al-Qaeda affiliates. Initiating the US-backed incineration of Yemen. Lighting the fuse for the ruination of Ukraine with the US-backed regime change op in 2014. His notorious drone program. The list goes on. But none of that stuff registers for the average Democrat. They don't care about it. They don't think about it. It's not even a blip on their screen. All they are interested in is the feelings Barack Obama made them feel inside about their favorite political faction. That's all they've been trained to focus on. The typical Westerner inhabits a mental universe that is completely divorced from reality. Atrocities are only committed by foreign states that their government doesn't like. Propaganda is something that only happens to people in other countries, or to people with different political ideologies. Scandals are whatever controversies the imperial media choose to focus on and inflame. The actual things that are happening in our world don't register. This happens because we live in a mind-controlled dystopia where public thought, speech, and behavior are aggressively manipulated by mass-scale psyops in the service of the powerful. The news is propaganda. The search algorithms are wildly slanted. The social media platforms herd us into isolated ideological echo chambers. Nobody who meaningfully challenges the information interests of the powerful is allowed to ascend to fame and influence. Hollywood is just a PR machine for the empire. So most Westerners are kept from forming an accurate picture of reality in their minds, which is what allows them to hold absurd beliefs like Barack Obama never did anything bad. They are cut off from seeing all the immense suffering that's inflicted upon the world by the empire they live under and the sociopaths who rule over it. And in its place, a crude crayon drawing of a world which confirms their power-serving biases has been inserted into their minds. They can't see Libya. They can only see the feelings they felt while Obama was in office and contrast them with the feelings they feel under Trump. This is the way they have been conditioned to relate to the world. Mass-scale psychological manipulation has turned them into drooling infants. And nobody benefits from this but the powerful. We won't be free until our minds are free. We can't have a healthy world as long as we are thinking in the ways the powerful have trained us to think. Meditations on.
So Obama never did anything wrong. Everybody knows he didn't drone strike, kill American citizens. He didn't say that he was really good at killing people. Those things never happened. They just, they think of him in terms of feelings, which was a good song in the 1970s, but it's not appropriate for this format.
Well, they do the same thing with like Dick Cheney, George W. Bush. They're like, oh yeah, Dick Cheney, great guy. Big Kamala fan, great guy.
It's called retroactive narrative adjustment. It's RNA. It's a form of just rewriting history so that it's more palatable because nostalgia.
Yeah, those feelings are powerful on people. They can be like you're feeling like emotions are how you feel about the words you use to think. And in their cases, they're using a bunch of inaccurate words that generate feelings that they like, which is the opposite of a good mental health relationship with reality. That's not how the adjudication of reality is supposed to go on with your quantum computer. If it was all just feelings, I mean, you'd be getting played like the mighty Wurlitzer. That is the propaganda mainstream media industrial complex. That's what they've done for the past 100 years. I mean, go back to Gustav Le Bon in the crowd in 1895, all the way up through Lippmann and Bernays, and see the pretty girl by the car, as Gatto would say. See the pretty girl by the car. Or the cigar, as in the case of Monica Lewinsky. I got to fix my camera. Damn it. All right, so let me preface it like this. I'll spin it up, and then I'll fix it while you guys comment. Epstein documents is in the next block. We're going to talk about this whole everybody getting rickrolled, literally, with the Epstein documents. And the fact that there is a history of blackmail going on with politicians in the United States by country, that spies most aggressively against America. And these have been known knowns over the years. And as I attempt to fix the camera and talk at the same time, one of the known knowns was that Monica Lewinsky had a relationship with Bill Clinton, and she had a relationship with the state of Israel. And there might be some overlap between their sensitive spy master services and her participation in certain White House cigar-related activities. So if I can get this book on screen quickly enough before it quits, we'll call this a win. This book is called Gideon's Spies, The Secret History of the Mossad, and it's by Gordon Thomas. And let's see if we have a date of publication, because that's usually good to help put it. It's updated for 2007. There you go. Originally published in 1995. And then 1999 is probably the first edition, maybe, that included Monica Lewinsky references. So we're going to go to page 103. And we're going to see why Israel might have spies in our White House at that time. Israel would deliver a strongly worded protest that its Washington embassy's diplomatic status had been violated by the bugging. So there's all sorts of espionage going on. Next, the Sayanim, connected to the U.S. media, should be instructed on how to plant stories that mega was an incorrect decoding of the Hebrew slang elga, which had long been Mossad speak for the CIA. Further, the word mega was part of the well-known U.S. intelligence, was well known to U.S. intelligence. Megawatt was a code name that had until recently joined with Mossad to describe shared intelligence. For good measure, Sayanim should then add another word, kilowatt, which was used commonly for terrorist data. So they have all sorts of advanced rhetoric going on between Tel Aviv and Benjamin Netanyahu, and how they can be babysitting our administration. And when you get down to on March 27th, Clinton once more invited Lewinsky to the Oval Office, where and revealed that he believed the foreign embassy was taping their conversations. So when we've got a very, very famous and well-respected spy agency that is working this Clinton-Lewinsky angle all the way up through the management of that angle with the Kenneth Starr report, right? And Kenneth Starr going back to Cornelius V. Starr and the founders of AIG, which is also an Israeli front that was involved in the events of 9/11. So you have a lot of overlaps here. And then you've got Monica Lewinsky right in the middle. And the question is, when they're taping phone calls and doing surreptitious surveillance on an American president using a honeypot, doesn't this sound like what Comey just tried to do with Trump? Doesn't this sound like what Epstein Network was doing with other U.S. politicians? Doesn't this sound like what Cohen was doing at the Blue Suite parties in the Plaza, according to One Nation Under Blackmail Volumes 1 and 2? And then, for people to act like these things don't go on, I would say they're probably part of that blackmail network. Israel blackmailed President Clinton with phone-tapped tapes of his steamy sex talks with Monica Lewinsky. A blockbuster new agency let's see, Blockbuster new agency, new book charges. Sorry. The price Clinton paid for the silence of Mossad agency was calling off an FBI hunt for top-level Israeli mole. So the FBI is involved. Guys like James Comey's predecessors, who must have been aiding and abetting this entire infiltration of American executive office, judiciary. I mean, this is a serious infiltration. And it started in a story that was branded as, oh, Bill Clinton got a blowjob. There's nothing to see there. That's also important. The framing of what most of the people in America today think that was all about. They just think, oh, he got a blowjob, and there's a cigar involved. But there was a lot of other blackmail and espionage and things that had gone on in this country for a long time, also being overlapped in that. So it's interesting to see her making the rounds on the Call Your Daddy podcast this past week. And for these types of things to start coming up in juxtaposition to Epstein being accused as a Mossad agent blackmailing for the state of Israel, a topic that Lex Fridman does not want to touch. He does not think that Mossad would do such things, apparently.
Gosh.
Or he loses his paycheck from Mossad for saying such obvious things in public that you could read in Gideon Spies. That's all.
Yeah, you mentioned there the Mossad code word reference for mega, right? Which reminds me of the Mega Group.
Yes.
Which is founded by Les Wexner, Charles Bronfman, who have direct ties to Jeffrey Epstein as well. That whole coterie of people, for sure.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And let's not forget, Maureen Comey, which is James Comey's daughter, who was, of course, the prosecutor for Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now been moved to the Diddy trial. So nothing to clean up here, folks. Totally above board. Nothing to worry about.
I mean, it's just a coincidence, as they would say, right? I mean, there's clearly not a conflict of interest. It's almost as reputable as Bill Barr being in charge of Epstein and Ghislaine when Bill Barr's dad brought Epstein into the Dalton school, probably abusing the children there. I don't know what else Epstein was doing with his history at a place of youth education.
Yeah.
Blackmailing future leaders of the world, possibly. That would be a good position to start in. One of those elite public boarding schools. So you get the drop on all their parents. Yeah, there's a lot to be probably learned there. And these conflicts of interest, whether it's Comey's daughter prosecuting or Bill Barr's dad initiating, it's like the apple doesn't fall far from the CIA.
That's awesome.
If only the people in power could control their impulses, then they wouldn't be as blackmailable, but they just keep giving in every time, and they get leverage, and it's a story as old as time.
It is. And when you look at the guy like Comey, his comeuppance was there's some people in his past history that are involved with very similar, like here's Bill Clinton that we were just talking about, right? He's the guy who brought Comey to power. And between Clinton and Bush's, those are just families that prospered either from the drug trade or the funding the Nazis prior to taking control of the world narco-terrorism trade, right? And the HSBC connection, that is pretty serious because that all those money laundering probes and the fact that he oversaw the cartel drug money laundering for the HSBC investigation told me, like, he's the guy at the top of our government that might be like the predecessor, like the successor to whoever killed Kiki Camarena. Because the people that are doing this right here on screen, that it's being investigated by Comey. Like, he's the white guy in America fronting for that entire international cartel network. And he's a person in power who had the ability to make investigations go away and to make billions of dollars in paid fines by those cartels to disappear.
It's almost like instead of investigating, he was gatekeeping the investment.
Ooh, that's quite possible. Now let me see where this goes to over here. Is this still up? It's not my interview. I got to find my interview with this guy, the HSBC whistleblower. But yeah, I'll search for that during the next block break and whatnot.
You mentioned Obama's all the scandals. I was just going to mention two names if they have anything that ring any bells, but Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. Did those happen during Trump or did those happen during Obama? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those were under Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that was Obama. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also prosecuted Bill Binney during that realm as well. Was it last week?
He must just have a better PR team cleaning up the past, like in 1984. He's just got a really efficient team to scrub the past narratives and make them squeaky clean.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Binney, I saw a video. He released a video recently with his new wife. And it talks about them being subjects of like Havana syndrome, electromagnetic radiation warfare type stuff, right? And so I was being, curious and incredulous. Like, okay, I'm going to hear some stuff that doesn't make any sense, and maybe he's just getting on in years. What I heard was Bill was cogent and very himself, and what he was describing are things that I believe he has knowledge of and has the scientific instruments to be able to capture data and evidence on those things. So as crazy as it sounded, I was like, that sounds actually like it could be going on. So I'm about to sneeze. Don't do it. All right. So, I'm going to have to find that clip. It was published by Bill Still, and apparently it was a 6 month ago interview. And Bill's like, dude, I'm not going to put this out because it sounds crazy. It's going to ruin your reputation. He does say that during the tape too. But I was like, unfortunately, the things that are being described actually do exist, and they would use it on somebody like him just to fuck with him because, alpha males be alpha males, and the pansies that are doing all the Russia, and making stuff up and acting like Renfields for the globalists, they're weak cowards that do stuff like that. So I wouldn't put it past them because they're getting desperate. So if I find that clip and we have time for it, I will sample it. If you're interested in outgrowing your status quo, I triple dog dare you to go over to getautonomy.info, read the page, and you can either talk to a graduate, that's what schedule a call means, or you take the primer course and you get all your questions answered, and you see if it's right for you. Now's the time to outgrow what they're putting out there, as far as just because Trump's doing all these executive orders doesn't restore family households and people having enough money to make ends meet and plan and prep and do all the other things that make you calm, cool, collected. Like if you're short of cash and you're not like caught up on what you need to do responsibility wise, that's a lot of pressure. So the way to get out of that is consistent growth. And that means learning, and growth is equivalent to goals, and getting your goals together and getting your network together, getting some good ideas together and making a stronger offer to the market. Because I'm just going to say it. If you went through schooling, you have been undermined for a great amount of time during your formative years. This is the restoration process. This is your renaissance process. This is where you all bring it all back together, make it all pay off going forward. But it takes a little work. And so we coordinate. We do it twice a year for 12 weeks at a time with a bunch of other friendly, freedom-minded people. Not everyone thinks alike, but we all have the same interests, that freedom is better than slavery. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives And this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come